Hey, how's it going, everybody? Shaun here for another edition of Shaun Solo, and today, me and my luscious beard would like to talk to you about Fallout 4. That's right, Fallout 4, if you weren't aware, was released a few weeks ago. It was a game that I played. It's Bethesda's newest open-world fucking Wanderfest. It's a Wanderfest, everybody. You like to wander? Like to get out there? You know what I'm saying? Aimlessly walk around? Who doesn't? Who doesn't? I do. So in general, I liked Fallout 4. That's my review. Goodbye. No, I'm just kidding. Of course I got more things to say about it. Have you seen any of these fucking things? If you haven't, they're usually fairly lengthy and mumbly. And somewhat thorough, though. Pretty thorough. Pretty thorough about how I feel about it. Anyways, yeah, so Fallout 4, I've put in probably about, I want to say like 80 to 90 hours, somewhere in that ballpark. I feel like I'm finally able to really talk about it. I guess I thought about doing this a while ago. I was like, when I hit like the 40-hour mark, I was like, I could probably talk about Fallout 4 now, like with some authority. But I decided not to. I decided, like, let's see, because I think the weird thing about Fallout 4, and I think I've experienced this with every Bethesda game, is that, like, I'm overwhelmed when I first start. I think they're amazing, the greatest thing ever. Then I kind of get bored, because I'm like, all these quests are the same. All these fucking side quests and main quests all feel exactly the same. This main quest is boring, it's not good. Bethesda games have never really had great storylines. And then once I really get into the world, like my third come around, my third wind, I really get into the world, and I love it again. It's when I kind of break away from the structure that the game is kind of leading me towards, right? Like the quest structure, or even side quests. Like once I kind of throw that shit away, and I just kind of start doing my own thing, and just start wandering, then I really fall in love with the game again. I had a very similar experience with Fallout 4. But this is the first time I think that there's a ton of caveats, actually, where it stopped me from like wholeheartedly embracing this game. Like, say if I did like a best games of 2015 year list, this would probably be on the list, but it would be on the back end of it, because I think this is the first time. And I guess it's probably just because other games that have come out even this year, like big RPGs, The Witcher 3 comes to mind. So I have all these kind of points of reference for games that are just feel more modern. Fallout 4 felt incredibly antiquated. I mean, people have joked around and said, "Oh, well, it's like Fallout 3.5." It is and it isn't. If you go back and play Fallout 3, trust me, it is miles and leaps and bounds more sophisticated than Fallout 3. Which makes it even more frustrating, some of the antiquated stuff in the game, especially like when it comes to like menu design, inventory management, like this really kind of, it's in depth, but it also feels tacked on. It's like kind of under what's the word I'm looking for? Underexplained. It's not explained very well. Like the crafting system's not explained very well. Actually, no systems are explained very well. It's kind of, and not that they're incredibly difficult to figure out. Like, if anything, from modding your weapons to your armor to building up to the communities and stuff like that, none of that stuff is incredibly difficult to figure out. But it's annoying enough to have to stumble your way through it that I think it's enough of a barrier that I think a lot of people just kind of like move on from it, and because you don't really have to do it, which is a good thing and a bad thing. You are going to have to do it to a certain extent, but you're not going to have to, like, totally get invested in it. Like I said, it's a good thing and a bad thing in the sense it's like, well, then why did you... If it's not really necessary, then why did you, I guess, waste resources and time, development time, on these systems that are kind of half-baked and aren't super necessary, other than polishing your game? Because this is the first time where that Bethesda jank is just more annoying than fun, I guess. And that's a sentiment I've heard echoed by a few people. And I found myself agreeing. Like, that this is the first time I was just kind of, like, actively, like, like, this is, like, just don't break. Like, being really annoyed at, like, broken quests and stuff like that. And just hoping things don't break, or, like, not being able to get into a door, or not being able to clear out an area because somebody's stuck in a fucking wall. Like, shit like that, like, it's frustrating. It's not the end of the world, but it is frustrating. And also, I think the game has a real problem with pacing. But like I said, I think all Bethesda games kind of do have that element. Because, like, just up front, like, the story, if I didn't say this before, the story's not very good. Like, it's the main quest line, it's fine. Like, you shrug your shoulders, I made it through that. Okay. The best parts of those games, and just like all Bethesda games, like I said, it's just going out there and immersing yourself in the world. And whether you are conscious of it or not, like, you're role-playing. On some level, you're role-playing. The characters are empty avatars, voiced or not. Like, they're an empty avatar for you to make your decisions and to explore and meet people. And and that's kind of what was, I guess, what would potentially be cool about this new community building, like, mechanic that they have in there. It would be potentially cool to actually feel like that you could just, like, live in existence in this world. That there was some kind of perpetual state that the world would kind of move in tandem with the decisions you made and how you affected it. Or there was other things going on independent of you that would be cool if that was happening. If there was, like, AI scripts that did, like, meaningful things in the world. So the world would constantly kind of evolve and change, and some areas could be overrun by raiders, but then there could be other factions that were taking them out. It'd be cool if that stuff was going on in the back end. But that's incredibly ambitious, obviously, but that would be cool if that did happen. But, so I don't know why I brought that up. What was I talking about? Shit. Oh, the crap story. And, yeah. So the crap story. Let's just talk about the story for a little bit, just to kind of get it out of the way. It's the least interesting thing to talk about. I'm not even going to bother spoiling. I'm not even going to get into it that deep, because it's really not. They didn't get into it that deep. There's some interesting stuff, and there's a big turn in the game where you kind of find the object of your search or whatever that had potential to, like, be interesting, and then it kind of isn't interesting. It just ends up to be another place. You know what? Fuck it. I'm going to spoil the story. The story's stupid. If you haven't played the game, I apologize. If you haven't gotten this far, then just shut it off, I guess. Shut it off or skip a few minutes ahead if you're really that in dire need. Overall, I think the story's crap. I think it's a beautifully immersive world. I think that the jank has gotten a little overstayed its welcome. I think it's the most derivative and shallow Bethesda game they've ever released. But I also think it's a really good game. It's, like, really, nobody makes games like Bethesda makes games. Like, let's just say that. They're incredibly, like I said, they're incredibly immersive. There's something really special about them, and if you like other Bethesda games, you will like Fallout 4, I guarantee you. But there's a lot of antiquated, old-fashioned shit that is still in these games that I kind of wish they had done. I think it's probably going to be the last time they're going to get away using this engine. The engine could use either a complete overhaul, or they just need to make a new one. And it's cool, like, you know, even the world itself, like, I'm going to spoil the story at some point, I'll tell you when. But, like, there's some cool stuff, like, in the game. I'm from around about the area the game takes place. So even I would see kind of certain skylines and landmarks and, like, things like that was cool. It's like a very truncated version of the areas I grew up in. So if you go to, like, near, like, Boston Commons. So Boston Commons it's a really big area, but in the game it's, like, really small. And, like, they just have, like, a few of the landmarks, like the pavilion. Like, so you see the Boston Commons Pavilion, and you see that, and, like, you're like, oh, okay, that is the Boston Commons. Oh, here we go, we were at the Big Green Monster, like, you know, we're outside of the stadium. Like, there's cool stuff like that, and they're identifiable, like, go to MIT, like, all those places, there's an attention to detail there that I thought was really fun, and it was really fun for me, just being from there. You know, I spent, you know, the better part of 18 years in that area. Almost 19 years I lived in that area of the world. So for me, it was a trip. I haven't been back there since I left like 10, 11 years ago. So it was a trip to like just kind of see that stuff in a video game. You just kind of get a little bit of a rush. You're like, oh, that's really cool. Like that's where I'm from. That's awesome. That's great. And Bethesda doesn't disappoint on that end. So even for me, that added to this whole like my kind of subjective notion about like I really just liked playing that game and being in that world, and I didn't care about anything that Bethesda created to emotionally manipulate me or make me care. I did not give a shit at all about a single fucking quest that I went on. I thought they were boring. Most of them are terrible. Like they're okay. I mean, to be fair, there's a few good ones. There's even a few like good faction quests and stuff like that. But the vast majority of the stuff in there, it will bore you to fucking death. The best part is just existing in that world. That's the best part of that game. Just like all Bethesda games. I felt the same way about Skyrim, and I'm not from fucking Skyrim. So, in general, I just think that's where, like, the real value of these games are. And as soon as I stopped giving a shit about, like, faction quests and the main storyline, once I was done with the main storyline, that's when I actually probably started enjoying the game. Because I definitely was at a threshold where I was almost, like, angry at the game. I was, like, almost resentful of the game. I was like, fuck, like, this sucks. I was kind of really down on the game for a while. And, like, cause I was, you know, I played for 40 hours in. I thought about recording my thoughts about it. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna play the game some more. I took a little time away from the game, most importantly, actually. I thought it's like to really reassess what I thought about it, because I couldn't really put a pin on it. I was just really annoyed by it. And I think that's what it was. It was just because I was stuck in, like, the gamey side of it. And once I kind of, like, brushed all that stuff aside and just started exploring on my own, I would start walking around without any, like, quest objectives or anything and just started exploring. That was some of the most thrilling gameplays for me. And I would just go clear buildings. And then I remembered, I was kind of like, oh shit, that's kind of how I played Skyrim. And, like, that's why I liked Skyrim so much. Because I was making my own story. I'm having my own fun. And making my own decisions. Like, just more than ever, though, I feel like this Fallout 4, like, it felt like the most, like, oppressive quest in terms of just, like, droning, just simple, pedantic shit. Like, I don't even know if it was a bug or if it was just the way I was doing a bunch of Minutemen quests. And, like, I got locked into getting quests from the same 3 locations, and they were just swapping quest types, like, clear raiders. My wife was kidnapped. Somebody was kidnapped here. I got more raiders. There's a bunch of ghouls over here that we need to be taken care of. So, like, and it was just those same 3 quest lines over and over. And I just decided, I was like, I wonder how long this will go on. And I did it for, like, about 4 hours. And it never changed. And it was just like, I thought maybe something would happen. It would unlock, or they would just stop sending me to these places. I would stop getting quests for these places. Nope. Just kept happening. And that was just like, it's frustrating when the game, the immersion of the game is broken by shit like that, because that really takes you out of the game. You're like, what the fuck is going on? I'm doing the same things over and over and over and over again. And I guess the remedy for that is to go be like, well, then go join other factions and then do their quest lines. Well, the thing is, like, those factions also have kind of a set amount of quest types. And they're all, at the end of the day, they all end up being the same thing. It's like, either go get this thing, or go kill all these people. Or all these ghouls, or whatever. Go clear out this area. Generally, that's the end game of any quest that you go on in the game. No matter who gives it to you, is go kill everybody. Which is disappointing, I think, from just like a role player's perspective. But Bethesda's always kind of been like that. I mean, even in something like Skyrim, like, no matter where you went, and if you stumbled in the caves or castles, or whether those quests were given to you, or you just stumbled across places, like, basically the objective ends up being kill everybody. And that is disappointing, I think, from an RPG perspective, first of all. Because, like, it's just, I think, like, in a game like this, and games like this, there's a real opportunity just to do things differently. And I think, like, and while The Witcher, there's a lot of similarities in there, but a lot of those quests that you would find in something like The Witcher, side quests, even some of the main quests, didn't even involve combat at all. like, they were just like kind of these interesting little adventures you go on, these little side adventures, or just these little interesting things you'd have to do. You'd have to go like play a game with somebody, or entertain somebody, or go dancing, or whatever. Like, there's stuff like that, and I wish there was more opportunity in these kind of Bethesda games to do stuff like that. I think that would be really interesting, and that's kind of a bummer that Fallout 4, because you're in this apocalyptic wasteland. There's no downtime. You're just a machine, basically. No characters feel like real human beings. So really the only thing to like keep you going a lot of times is just the mechanical function of the game. So if you get bored with the mechanics of the game, you're just going to get bored with the game. Like, because there's just not those extra things pulling you. Like, for me, a lot of the stuff that kept me playing The Witcher 3, which I think is mechanically sound game, but like, it's pretty limited, like, in terms of like combinations of things you can do. But what really kept me into that game for as long as it did, because I put a lot of time into The Witcher 3. Witcher 3 is going to be like Skyrim for me, in the sense that like I'm going to be coming back to that game for fucking years. I guarantee you I'm going to come back to that game, and that will be getting replay after replay from me. It's something that's always going to be in my library. It's an all-timer for me. And I say that as like, I like the Witcher games. I like the first two. I think there's a lot of problems and stuff like that. But generally, I like those games, but I really love The Witcher 3. I thought that was such a huge step forward, even from the already really complex and well-made Witcher 2. Like, it was such a huge leap forward. It, like, streamlined the right things and moved forward in the right ways. Had, like, a really cool storyline. Had a really, like, world that really felt alive. Like, just populated with people that felt real. It's an amazing feat for a video game. I don't think Bethesda's very good at that stuff. I mean, I think their worlds themselves are immersive, and I really enjoy the solitary searching, like, kind of journey part of those games. But there's a lot of stuff that just break your immersion and take you right out of the game. And a lot of that is the stuff that Bethesda builds into the games, like the quests and stuff. They're not very good. And that's unfortunate. Because there's just something about these games that just are incredibly playable. And that, like I don't know if I said it, but like, you blink and 4 or 5 hours is gone. You don't even know where it went. It burns time. Fallout 4 and Bethesda games in general kind of act as a weird time machine. If you were only interested in losing a few hours at a time. Yeah. So let's spoil the story a little bit. So there's an interesting quest line. You're looking for your son. That's what kind of motivates your character for the main quest. Then you find your son. You find out he's part of this mysterious institute that you've been trying to get to. You think the institute kidnapped your son. Well, they did, I guess, technically. But your son grows up to be a scientist, and who created, like, the androids, the synths. He's part of that. Or making them more lifelike, or building their AIs out. And then the story kind of doesn't do anything with it. It's just kind of, you can be with him, you can be against him, but there's really no emotional attachment, no matter what thing you choose. Which is weird, because your son's a dick. I just, as an experiment, like, he was talking to me one time, and he was just like, yeah, well, we're responsible for the synths, and the synths have to kind of stay to their programming, they have no rights, because they're not real. And so I just shot him in the head. Not that I'm overly sympathizer, because there's actually one really great companion character that I actually really enjoyed, and I really enjoyed their kind of loyalty quest, basically. This is the only loyalty quest I really liked. Was the Nick Valentine stuff. I thought there was some interesting stuff there, but like, it doesn't go far enough. It doesn't take it far enough. And then after you do the loyalty quest, it's like it never fucking happened. Like, I don't feel like the ripple effects of that. And it was incredibly frustrating with most of the stuff in the game. In a game that's supposed to react to my decisions and how I go about business, anything that's scripted does not react to you, like, almost at all. Not in any, like, really not in a way that feels meaningful or that feels like it really carries over throughout the rest of your game. It never felt like it really mattered. Hold on, my luscious beard here. It's my wasteland beard. Out in the wasteland. On the wasteland of fucking Rocket League, yo. Yeah, it's pretty much just been Fallout 4 and Rocket League for like the past few weeks. Or just a side tangent, yeah, because my both of my brothers got PS4s and we all got Rocket League. And even my sister ended up getting a PS4 on Black Friday. She has Rocket League, so we've been playing a lot of Rocket League. It's been a lot of fun, actually. And it's actually Rocket League's like the perfect game to go to when you're done, like when you're kind of burnt out on Fallout 4. Like you're like, I need something just quick and immediately satisfying, and not grindy or anything like that. But so if you're getting the Fallout 4 blues, I suggest take a step back, play some Rocket League, and then go back into Fallout 4, and don't give a shit about what any of the quests are, and just go start exploring. That's when that game comes alive. And I'll say it again. I've said it a bajillion times during this video. That game comes alive when you stop giving a shit about what the game is telling you to do. And I wish that the game kind of took its hands off a little bit more. Wish there was more opportunity for that. Because I'm like, I don't know if it's like I have some sort of developing some sort of OCD or something, but like it's just like, even though it will nag at me if I go look at the data section of the old fucking antiquated menu system I could not stand in the game. Go look at the data and I'll see all these quests that I've unlocked but haven't finished. It drives me crazy. So even though like eventually I'll go back and I'll have to do them, I won't be allowed to have, my brain won't allow me to have that much fun. You're having too much fun. You're enjoying this game on your own terms. What are you doing? That's madness. That's craziness. Yeah. But for me, like, that's really the best way to play this game, so it's almost like I have to get through once I was done with, like, the burden of the main quest line, and all that stupid shit with my son that just does not pay off at all, and then there's other stuff that happens and I just don't care about it. I just don't care. I can barely remember any of that stuff. Like, it meant that little to me. Like, actually, so most of the time I play that game, I'd put on some music, or I would listen to podcasts. I didn't give a shit what was going on in that story at all. And maybe that's I tried, man. I gave it, and dudes and dudettes, I tried. I gave it a good shot. Because I want them to be good, obviously. Like, and I want to invest in them in a way that I feel is meaningful. But really, to me, like, there isn't, like, it's a game that doesn't really, it's weird, because I think it's incredibly well made, but it doesn't really mean a lot to me. I don't have, like, Skyrim meant a lot to me for some reason. I don't know if that was because of just the time in my life that I played it, and I kind of assigning feelings that I had at the time when I played that game, because that game came out, and not to get too weird and personal with you, but like that game came out like the same year my father passed away. He passed away very suddenly, like, so it was kind of just like a big shock, right? And so that came out the same year, so maybe that might have like led to that, because I kind of really reinvested myself in gaming. Like, for years I was really into music, and I was in a band, and like that kind of set me on my path. And then I was out of that band, and I wasn't in a band anymore. So I needed something else to like kind of intellectually stimulate myself. So I kind of got back into video games in a big way. Always been a gamer. Always played video games from the time I was a child, but my dad had a lot to do with that. So I think, so maybe that might be one of the reasons why Skyrim is so special to me. But I also just think Skyrim is just more thoughtfully designed. I just think there's something just about this game that just feels rushed. I don't know, which is a weird thing to say because it's not. Right? Like, I know it's been in development for a long time, but just something about it just feels, I don't know, just not as impressive. And which is a weird thing to say because it is an incredibly impressive game. It is an incredibly impressive achievement in just world building and just the places you can go and the fact that you can just kind of explore and do the things that you can in that game. It's staggering. Like, nobody, like I said before, nobody makes games like Bethesda makes games. So how do you judge them? Like, what's the true litmus for a Bethesda game? It's so weird, because, like, I think more than any other experience, like, Bethesda games come down to subjectivity over objectivity. Like, objectively, we can say, this works, this is good, this is bad. Like, I think objectively, that menu system, that inventory management is fucking garbage. I fucking hated it. I hated every second I had to spend in that fucking inventory system. I swear to God, it drove me insane. It drove me insane. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I said it. I don't know if I just thought it. But, like, I shut the game off a few times because I was so angry. I was so irritated about it. I was just like, quick save, fuck it, I'm done. I'm done with this shit. I'm done with it. I'm not doing that anymore. And then objectively, there's stuff that's great. Gunplay, way, way improved. Objectively better. Level design, world design, objectively impressive, objectively cool, objectively interesting. But, like I said, those are just a few examples, I suppose, right? But and then there's all the bugs and the jank and all that stuff, like, that comes with Bethesda territory, but, like, it depends on, like, your willingness to put up with that stuff. And I played the PS4 version as well. I didn't even play this in the optimal way. I really need to upgrade my computer. I really, really need to. Actually, the reason why these videos are done on webcam is because my computer just can't handle, or just gives me a hard time with, like, doing HD video and stuff like that. So I just stopped doing it for the time being. So I played on the PlayStation 4, so I ran into more bugs than, the PC people did, obviously. But, like, so, like, were those things overwhelmingly negative? Like, did they impact my experience in an overwhelmingly negative way? Yes and no. But this is the first time I was not willing to, like, totally kind of write it off just because of the ambition of the game. That's kind of what you think about. You're like, well, it's so ambitious, and it does so many things, and it's trying to do so many things. Like, it's not going to get everything right. Of course there's going to be things that are broken. But this is the first time where I was kind of like, yeah, it is broken, and it's going to be broken. That is to be expected, but, like, I don't know if I want to not waste my time, but that's not the right way to put it, but I don't know. It's the first time it actively affected my enjoyment. So, that's what I mean about, like, the ultimate subjective game. Some people are just going to be able to, like, handle that stuff or be okay with that stuff more than other people. And neither of them are right or wrong. Really. But, like, neither of them are right or wrong. Because I think, like, anybody could pick up this game and enjoy it to a point. I mean, parts of the game. Anybody will be able to pick up and enjoy parts of this game. There's a lot of this game that feels incredibly piecemeal. Like, I think, like, especially, like, the town building stuff. Like, if they had just built that better, like, that would be really cool and really enjoyable. Like, I wish it kind of had, like, went into, like, a town builder scenario where you could have, like, a bird's eye view type thing, and it turns into kind of like a Sim City type thing, right? Where you could just, like, build your community. Instead of, like, doing it in first person mode and, like, not having anything fit correctly. And it's just, like, it's incredibly frustrating. Incredibly frustrating. But having said that, the people that have really got into it and have really invested in their time to that have built, like, really crazy cool shit. So, the capability is there. You just have to be willing to, like, get past those barriers to really enjoy it. But yeah, so, like, at the end of the day, Fallout 4 is a good game. It is not the masterpiece I think a lot of us wanted it to be, maybe. Although, I'll be honest with you, I didn't have a ton of huge expectations for the game. Bethesda did a cool thing where they didn't give me a ton of time to think about it. They announced it and then it came out a few months later. Awesome way to do it. I love that. I love not knowing, because it's like, knowing about something for 5 years before it comes out just kind of sucks. It's kind of a nightmare. But yeah. Good, but not great. Great, but not a masterpiece. I would say, like, okay, I would say it's a great game. If you spend $60 on this game, it is worth every penny. It's got a ton of problems. There's a lot of antiquated stuff in there, like I said, but beyond all that, my subjective opinion is if you enjoy Bethesda games, if you've enjoyed them in the past, you like open world exploration, you like role-playing, give this a shot. Give it a shot. Although, I suppose one more thing I should mention, though. The dialogue system. I did not have a huge problem. I didn't have as big a problem as other people have had with it. I thought it was whatever. And I think that kind of lends to the fact that, like, not a lot of the things that you do in the game feel very meaningful. So it didn't really matter. I actually tested out this, because I joined the Brotherhood of Steel by accident. I did not want to join them. I don't like the Brotherhood of Steel. I think they're weird, like, religious zealot, like, fucking authoritarians. Don't care for them. And, so I was just a dick to everybody. I could not get kicked out of the Brotherhood of Steel. I guess I could start shooting them. I did not try that. I did not try to just start offing the pigs. But, so maybe I'll do that next time I boot up the game. But yeah, what I said stands, though. Everything I said before stands. There's enough good here to definitely check out. I don't think you'll be disappointed with your purchase. It's basically, it is the, like, the poster child for, you get what you put into it type of game. For sure. You can be, if you want to casually just play through the story stuff, you can. If you really want to get hardcore into it, do hardcore role playing, and fucking be somebody from the wasteland, you can also do that. Which I'm kind of in the middle. I did a little bit of everything, right? That's the kind of player I am. I really wish there was a good story told. I'm incredibly disappointed in that. I mean, but I think I'm incredibly disappointed in that, like, because relative to other RPGs I played this year. I've played through some really wonderful stories this year, and we'll probably, at some point over the next month, yeah, probably by at least early January, I want to do like my top games of the year. It's going to include a lot of games I haven't talked about on this channel. There's a couple more games I got to check out. I want to check, and because they're at Redbox. I can Redbox them. So I'm going to check out like Assassin's Creed Syndicate, Just Cause 3. I played the Rainbow Six Siege beta. I might rent that. You can get that from there. So I'm going to check out those games before they're gone from Redbox, and I only have to pay, $10 to really play them. So I'm going to do that. Before I give my final analysis on what I think are the best games of the year, I got some good ones for you. I got some left fielders. I got some things you probably wouldn't think of. So look for that. Look for that in the near future. All right. I'm Shaun, and I will talk to you guys next time I got something to talk about.